I'm going to show you exactly what it takes to become the top 10% of virtual wholesalers, even if you're brand new, even if you don't live in the market you're wholesaling in. Because the truth is this, most wholesalers never build a real business. They watch videos, they buy courses, they jump from strategy to strategy. But the top wholesalers, they operate differently. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what they do that the other 90% don't. We're going to break this down into 3 things. First, the character traits you need if you want to succeed. Second, the skills that separate the top wholesalers from everyone else. And third, the one strategy that consistently produces deals. And if you stay to the end, you'll see why wholesaling is actually a very predictable business when done correctly. But first, let me ask you something. If you're not getting deals yet, is it really because wholesaling doesn't work? Or is it because you're operating like the other 90% of wholesalers? Let's talk about it. And no, it's not a lack of knowledge. So let's dive into the character traits that separate the top 10%. Before we talk about strategies or tactics, we need to talk about character. Because if this part isn't in place, nothing else in this video is going to matter. So let's dive into the first trait, discipline. Let me ask you a question. Can you show up and do the work, even on the days that you don't feel like it? Because wholesaling is one of the few businesses where nobody is telling you what to do. You're your own boss, which sounds great until you realize that freedom is also the reason why most people fail. Because they wake up and do whatever they feel like doing that day. See, successful wholesalers don't do what they feel like doing. They do what moves the business forward. And this next one is the thing that kills more wholesalers than anything else. And that is shiny object syndrome. This is where most beginners get stuck. One week, they're learning creative finance. Next week, they're studying novations. Then they're trying texting, then direct mail, then Facebook ads. 6 months later, they've learned a lot but closed 0 deals. The wholesalers who win follow what I call the power of one. And that's one strategy, one market, one outreach method. Now for us, that strategy is virtual wholesaling, and that outreach method is cold calling. Simple, repeatable, predictable. But there's another reason most new wholesalers stay stuck, and it has nothing to do with how hard they're working. It's what they're working on. Income comes first. Most wholesalers don't fail from a lack of effort. They fail because they're focusing on the wrong activities. The top 10% of wholesalers understand that income producing activities are the only things that move the needle. Because of that, they always start their day of one of these 3 things. First, it's growing a buyer's list. If you don't have buyers, you can't sell deals. Second, getting new leads. Wholesaling is a marketing business. Most people want consistent income, but they're not generating new leads daily. This activity keeps your pipeline full. And third, following up with existing leads, making the offer, calling back when you said you would, scheduling the next conversation. Because studies have shown that 80% of sales require at least 5 to 12 follow-up contacts, yet most new wholesalers stop after just 1 or 2. Top wholesalers follow up until the seller or buyer does one of 3 things. They buy, they sell, or they ask you to stop, and that's focus. Now, once you understand where to focus your time, the next thing that separates successful wholesalers from everyone else is consistency. This brings us to trait number 3. This business rewards people who stay in motion. Most beginners try something for 2 weeks, then quit because they didn't get a deal. But wholesaling is a numbers game. Momentum compounds, and the people who win aren't necessarily the smartest. They're the ones who stayed consistent long enough for the math to work. But character alone isn't enough. You also need skills. So let's dive into part 2, the skills that top wholesalers develop because wholesalers don't get paid for information. They get paid for solving problems. The bigger the problem you solve, the bigger the paycheck. And there are 2 skills that matter most. Skill number 1, understanding what buyers want. This is where most beginners make a huge mistake. They start looking for deals before they even know what a deal actually is. And that's why I teach something called FYBF, Find Your Buyer First. Because when you know what buyers want, finding deals becomes much easier. You're not guessing anymore, you're solving a specific demand. But here's where most people get uncomfortable. Skill number 2, talking with sellers. Most beginners try to avoid this part, but this is where the money's made. Wholesaling is simply conversations. Conversations with sellers, conversations with buyers, conversations that uncover problems you can solve. You don't have to be a slick salesperson. You just have to care about helping people, because selling isn't something you do to someone. Selling is something you do for someone. You help them get out of their own way so they can make the best decision for them. Now let's talk about the strategy that actually produces deals, because this is where most wholesalers get distracted. Let's dive into part 3, the strategy that actually works. There are dozens of ways to generate leads: Facebook ads, direct mail, PPC, SEO, text marketing. But most of those strategies require money, time, or both, and they're really difficult to control. But here's one strategy you can control every single day: outbound outreach, specifically cold calling motivated sellers. And here's why this matters. Let's make this really simple. On average, about 1% of calls turn into real leads. And most wholesalers land a deal somewhere around 25 solid leads. So if you stay consistent, the math eventually works in your favor. This is why consistency matters so much. Most beginners quit before the numbers have time to work. The wholesalers who succeed simply stay in the game longer. But here's the biggest shift you need to make if you want real income. This is the mindset shift that changes everything. Stop chasing money and start solving real problems. The wholesalers who make the most money aren't thinking about assignment fees. They're thinking about, how can I help this seller? How can I bring a great deal to my buyer? The bigger the problems you solve, the more money you make. So if you want to become the top 10% of wholesalers, it's actually very simple. Be focused, be consistent, be disciplined, follow the power of one, find your buyer first, and then go find the deals that solve problems for both sides. That's how real wholesaling businesses are built that last. So if you're watching this video right now and you're serious about becoming a top wholesaler, but you're still stuck just trying to figure out how to get your first deal, then here's what I want you to do. In the description below, there's a link where you can join my free community where I break down the exact strategies I use and show my clients how to build virtual wholesaling businesses that last. We go deeper into things like finding your buyer first, getting consistent seller leads coming in, and then building a simple wholesaling business you can run from anywhere. If you want to stop guessing and start building that momentum, then go ahead and click the link in the description and come join us. I'll see you on the inside.